Welcome back to Asking for Knowledge. This is episode 10. My, how time flies. Today we're going to be talking about a framework that I use and that I teach with kids. And if this is your first time listening, our focus is always that 8 to 12, 6 to 12-year-old age group. But this is a framework that I teach to those kids, and it's one that I'm starting to really see pay dividends. And so I want to share it with you in hopes that you can use it, you can use parts of it, you can dissect it, you can figure out what works for you. But my hope would be that it gives you one more tool in your toolbox as you're dealing with your kids, as you're dealing with athletes, if you're a coach, and allows us to move further faster. So if this is your first time listening, this is, again, the Asking for Knowledge podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Mabe. And on this podcast, we have 3 different versions. So we've got Asking Out Loud, which is me just blabbering on a mic. And really, that's been all our episode types so far. So we're building out a list of invites. And so my hope would be very soon we have guests on the show. But for now, it's just me. So enjoy. The second episode type we have is Asking the Experts. We kind of did our first version of that on episode 9 a little bit, where I did a lot of research and a lot of deep dives to bring you information that was pertinent to athletic development and that sort of thing. So we're dipping our toe in the water of asking the experts until we can get an actual expert on here. And then last thing is asking your parents, and that is either survey responses or parents that are guests that have been through maybe the recruiting process, that have multiple kids that have been through all the different developmental stages, that have good memories, bad memories from that those young developmental stages. So giving us feedback, helping us learn, helping us grow, helping us understand. Our goal is first principles on everything youth baseball. So breaking it down to the nitty-gritty, figuring out what we need, what we don't, and hopefully providing a better future for our kiddos. If there's one to be had, we may be doing it all right. I don't know. I say that every episode. We're going to keep going down the rabbit trail. Our core focus as an organization, Asking for Knowledge, is to help young players master the mechanics, mentality, and joy of baseball. And again, today's episode is focused on that mentality side of things. And we do it through what we have dubbed a T.O.L.A.T.A framework. That's spelled T.O.L.A.T.A. I do believe we have some content on this, maybe on YouTube. I'm not sure. I'll make sure that there is very soon after this episode comes out, if there is not. I know we shot some stuff, but I don't know if it's made its way there yet. But at any rate, the framework goes like this. So T.O.L.A.T.A. And the whole idea behind it is to help kids with some of the emotional side of things as they work through a process of growth. Because we all know that in a process of growth, there will be failure, there will be hardships, there will be unfair things that happen, there will be setbacks, there will be people that say mean things, there will be teams that talk trash, there will be all these, there will be bad umpires, there'll be unfair teachers, there will be all these different things as we go through this joyful experience called life. And I want any kid that is anywhere near my periphery to at least be exposed to a framework. They don't have to adopt it. They don't have to even understand it, but I'm at least going to make sure they're exposed to it so that they can think of the world in a different way. Kids so many times are ruled by their emotions. I'm upset, I'm mad, my feelings are hurt, whatever. And if we let that fester, and if we let it continue, we really, every time it happens, we lose an opportunity for them to grow and develop. And there's all these different ways that we try to deal with it and work around it. We make excuses. We blame it on other people. Sometimes we're hard on the kid. We tell them to suck it up. We do all these different things, and all of it is an attempt. It's a good faith attempt to help. So it's not that I'm not pointing the finger and saying that, I'm judging everybody and saying, oh, you're saying all the wrong things and doing all the wrong things. No, I think we all do it in a way that we're just trying to help our kids. But again, if we're not careful, we lose those lessons in that moment. So the framework. The T in T.O.L.A.T.A stands for try. So for something to start, for a process to get going, we have to try to do something. If nothing happens, nothing happens. So there has to be an element of trying first. So whether that's stepping in the batter's box, taking the pitcher's mound, putting on the catcher's equipment, going out to shortstop, going to the outfield, being a base runner, we have to try something first. Otherwise, nothing happens. So step 1, try something. Step 2, immediately following, we observe. That's the O in T.O.L.A.T.A. And really observe is a key question. And the key question is, what happened? And really, this is the opportunity for the kid to hit a quick timeout. And this is not some big formal process. This is an immediate, quick thing to try to stop or address the flow of emotions that often come through challenging circumstances. That gap that Viktor Frankl talks about between stimulus and response. If we can just teach our kids that there is a gap, man, it's going to make our lives a lot easier. I can tell you that. It's from a selfish perspective. But from a loving parent perspective, it's going to make their lives a lot easier too. For them to understand there is a moment in there where they can think about what just happened. So the O is observe. We ask the key question, what happened? After we ask that question, obviously, there's some level of response. And we'll give an example here in a second, but we're going to go through the framework first. And once we understand what happened, now we have the opportunity to learn and adjust. So that's the L and the A. We can look at the situation, figure out our involvement in it, what we can control, what we can't control, and we make a decision to do it different the next time. That's the adjust part of that. And then the final TA. It may not even be necessary. When I draw this in a circle, it's really not. But when I draw it in a line, it makes more sense. And let's face it, T.O.L.A.T.A kind of rolls off the tongue. But the TA in T.O.L.A.T.A is try again. Now, I know there's some scientists or science fans sitting out there at home and be like, this sounds a lot like scientific method. Yeah, it is. It is. I tried to think of a more interesting way to present it to children that they could understand, that they could grasp, that would give them a simpler version of that method. But this is exactly what it is. But here's why it's important. Okay, and we'll give you an example. Kid gets in the box. Let's say he didn't even use this framework at all during an at-bat. Umpire calls strike 3, pitches at his chin, and outside. Okay, so let's just say there's no world where it's a fair strike or in the actual strike zone. So what do we do? Blame the umpire, blame the other team, blame, whatever. Kid's mad, throws his bat, pouts, whatever, all these different reactions. Okay, but what if we applied the T.O.L.A.T.A framework? If we do, he's going to observe. She's going to observe. They're going to ask themselves the question, what happened as they're walking off, right? Umpire called strike 3, not seen one change his call yet on a balls or strike call. It is what it is. We got to live with it, got to move on. She can ask himself what happened. Umpire's terrible. Yeah, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. It may be true. Maybe it's your first at bat of the game. Maybe you've not seen this umpire strike zone. Maybe it is just true that he's terrible. But again, if we stop there, we interrupt the process of growth, because guess what? That umpire is probably going to be back in there when you get back in the box for the next at bat. I think we'd be better served. We ask what happened, and then we learn and adjust. So we look at it and say, okay, what's my part in this process? Okay, I've got a bat in my hands. I've got a set of eyeballs. I know that he called me out on that pitch. I don't have to swing at it before 2 strikes, but if I get to 2 strikes, I better be ready. And then I get back in the box. And now I've gone through a process. I'm changing tenses on you. First, third person, whatever. Anyway, our children have gone through a process that helps them adjust for the next time. Instead of hopping back in the box, you're still seething from the umpire. Your dad's been pumping you up at the back of the fence, the whole end. I can't believe he called you. He's been yelling at the umpire. Here's his dad yelling at the umpire, and then he gets back in the box, and then the umpire makes a bad call, and then he flips out again. He never gave himself a chance. Let me give you another example. We'll talk about Kirby for just a minute. In the process of drill work, doing some different things, working on different movements, different positioning, and some days are just hard for any number of reasons. So we try something new. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe they feel stupid. Maybe they swing and miss the ball. Maybe any number of things can happen. Okay? Without this framework, emotion starts to build. We get upset. We get frustrated. We get mad at ourselves. We get mad at our coach. Or we hit a quick timeout. We say, what happened? And then we learn and adjust. And we make a good faith effort to make the change. And, Kirby never has to visit. And I don't remember which episode it is if you're wondering about Kirby. Kirby is basically the personification of all the negative things that we don't want to be. Kirby pouts. Kirby gets upset. Kirby, blames other people. Kirby blames or makes excuses. I'm sorry. He, doesn't take accountability for himself or responsibility for himself. And that's the Kirby that we speak of. And the name came from, I was working with a kid, had another kid. Kids started to get a little pouty on me, and I said, we need to make a name for this guy because I don't recognize him compared to who you normally are. I don't recognize, there's some other kid in there right now, I don't recognize this kid. He's getting pouty. And I said, we should come up with a name. And before I could get name out of my mouth, one of the other kids that I didn't think was paying attention just yells out, we should call him Kirby. And so that's where Kirby came from. So he has become that personification. So I apologize for your name's Kirby. But anyway, just to explain what Kirby means. So it's giving our kids a framework so that they can understand a process for growth that is always going to be challenging. If you're growing, you're going to be hitting your head against a wall. You're going to be doing hard things. You're going to be doing things you've never done before. You're going to be doing things that you're not competent in. And so you just have to understand the process for growth, that this is what it is. Me turning on this mic is one of those things for me. I hope you as parents and coaches have those things for you. But we got to teach our kids these things in this framework. And so, I draw a couple cycles, and again, we'll make sure the content gets available to you that illustrates this so you can see it visually. But there's kind of 3 different versions of this framework. There's the good one, the good version that I'm talking about that leads to growth and improvement and enjoyment and just really having a good time in the process of growth, because you understand it for what it is. You know, you're not caving to expectations. You're not letting expectations kind of ruin things for you. You're understanding its process. The second version of this is where that observe and learn and adjust kind of get blown up by emotion and anger and frustration and resentment and blame and excuses. And that part of things is disruptive, and it creates a downward spiral, and it rarely results in positive results. So there's that version. And then there's an even worse version. And in that version, it's basically just the first T and the last TA, where you just try, and then you try again, and you try again, and you try again. And maybe there's no emotion. Maybe there's no, you're not getting upset. You're not getting frustrated. You're not blaming people, but you're just doing the same thing. You're not making adjustments. You're not learning from the past reps. You're not trying to put new things in practice. And that's, I think, a far more common rut for some kids and some adults, myself included, where it's just like, I'm just going to bang my head against the wall as many times as I possibly can until this wall falls down, instead of really hitting the pause button and saying, hey, let me try something different. There might be a better way. So that's T.O.L.A.T.A. Again, try, observe, ask yourself what happened. The L, the A, learn and adjust. Learn from what happened. Learn from the answers to the questions that you gave yourself, and then make the proper adjustments on the next one. And then you try again. Hope that's helpful. Hope you can use that. Hope you can implement that. I think it's pretty easy to teach to kids. Again, I've had some really, really good results with it so far. Kids seem to be able to pick it up and remember it from one time to the next. And so what we do is just, if we're in a practice environment, a learning environment, and I start to see it creep in, excuse me, or maybe, we've done a bunch of reps and nothing's changed. I say, okay, time out. Where are we at in the process? And, of course, the first few times they look at you cross-eyed and like, what are you talking about? I need to pivot my hands. I said, no, the process, T.O.L.A.T.A, where are we at? Oh, observe. Okay. All right. Ask yourself what happened. Okay. Well, I didn't really do that rep. Like I wasn't really thinking about it. Okay. All right. Perfect. How do we learn and adjust? And then we try again. And it seems to really be resonating. So hope that's helpful. Hope that works for you. If you're enjoying the show, please share it. Please follow. Please like and subscribe. I don't even know what all the buttons are, where you're listening. But you can find us on social media. We are building those platforms out, so you'll see more and more content coming through there as promised with the T.O.L.A.T.A framework. And just interact with us. Ask us questions. Send us questions. And, last thing would be participate in our surveys. So periodically we'll send out surveys. We want to get a better understanding of what is going on out there in the world. And so respond. Even if you disagree, share it. Let's talk through it. We're going to have positive, constructive debate and really get to the bottom of what's going on in youth baseball and youth sports. And hopefully we'll end up in the best place we can be. Again, I always say maybe we're already there, but we're going to find out. Appreciate you listening. Until next time, keep asking for knowledge.